Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the whiteboard. This week, we are going to talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough love, but is often a problem in accounts that we review and audit. It's the thing that almost every website has, but virtually no marketing team uses to its full potential, and that's your website analytics. So most brands, 90% plus, use GA4, Google Analytics 4, the successor to Universal Analytics, which was UA3. And for many marketers, we loved UA3 because it was simple, it was intuitive, it just worked. GA4 has many more advanced features. It does so much more cool stuff, but no one knows how to use it, so all that cool stuff doesn't really matter. And to illustrate this, we've put together just a quick summary of a website to show you what GA4 usually gives you, why that's bad, and then how you can upgrade your GA4 experience to be better. So, starting off with the basics, GA4 works on an event model. Virtually everything that happens on your website, from a page view to a button click, to a sale or purchase or lead form submission, to an error message, is an event. Everything works on events. This is a big change from UA, where there were multiple characters, there were hits, there was a whole bunch of stuff. GA4 just works. And that part is where you can take advantage. So here's our standard website. You can see we've got a hero, we've got a title, we've got images, we got some buttons, we got some content. Now, by default, and what most organizations will track is this stuff, your page views, your sessions, maybe some conversion events, maybe some other events, maybe the number of users that came, maybe the time on site, maybe the engaged session rate or the bounce rate. Those are just the inverses of one another. But you get all this stuff and it goes into a report and you say, and you look at it and you're like, I don't know what to do with this. This does not work for me. How does the number of sessions actually matter? No idea, right? And when you get into GA4, and for most organizations, you're using probably these 4 reports the most, maybe a couple others, but you're using a source medium report. You're seeing where the traffic came from and kind of how it did. You're using an event report. You're seeing what events fired on your site. You're using a behavior flow report. You're seeing how people move from point A to point B, or from a conversion action back through their journey, what pages they did, what events they triggered, etc. And maybe you're using like some audience reporting to see where people came from, what audiences they were in, etc. And maybe you're using a few other reports too. But here's the bottom line. No matter all of this out of the box does not do shit for you. It is not helpful because none of it tells you what's going well, what's going wrong, what to fix, what to scale. Those are the only questions that really matter for a website. If you can't get data that tells you, hey, this element up here drives outsized performance gains. People that see this don't convert any better. People that see this convert phenomenally well. If I can't get that kind of data on what actually drives action, or what these actions are actually worth, what am I doing? That's not helpful. That's not reporting that's going to help you up-level your marketing or up-level your career. So what I think we need to do, and in order to get the most from GA4, is to update what metrics you track. Now, GA4 does allow you to do this. The problem is it's not out of the box. It requires customization. You have to create custom events. You have to fill those events with the right values. You have to set this up, but once you do, it is the gift that keeps on giving. So what should you be tracking? Number 1, revenue and profit per section. The most important metric you can get on your website is which visitors are making you the most money. Now, revenue is not profit. Not all revenue is equal. And some organizations, like lead gen companies, don't get revenue off the bat, right? You're a roofing company, somebody fills out an inquiry form. That's not revenue today. but that's potential revenue. And from that potential revenue, we can infer an approximate value, right? If you're that same roofing company, you get 500 leads per month, and we segment those down into, Google search organically gives you half of those leads, and Facebook gives you the other half. To make the math easy, I can look back 3 months and I can say, okay, for 3 months, 250 leads a month, that's 750 total leads. And of those leads, we've converted 75 into customers. Amazing. And of those 75 customers, the average profit the average revenue we've made is, call it $1,000, and the average profit is $500. So now I know 75 customers times $1,000 in revenue, $75,000 in revenue. Profit, half of that, $37,500. Amazing. That's total profit over 3 months. Now I divide it by the number of leads I've obtained, and I have an actual estimate on revenue per session, profit per session, because I know how many sessions I have, I know how many leads I have, and I know how much profit I have. This is obviously a simplified example, but all that data can be inputted as a custom event in GA4. And then all of a sudden, now as I look at my channel breakdown, I'm seeing, oh, wow, Google search provides this much revenue per session. Every organic visitor I gain is worth, on average, $3 to me, $5 to me, $7 to me. That's great news. That tells you what you can do. And on the paid media side, you can quickly see, oh, my Facebook ads, I'm getting an average of $50 in revenue for every visitor. Whoa, that's fantastic. Now I know that Facebook is driving revenue for the business based on my historical data. I can scale that up confidently. I am getting data that helps me make a better decision about where to allocate my capital. Conversely, if I'm also doing Reddit ads and I don't see any revenue for that, well, if I have 0 revenue per session, but I'm paying money for those ads, that's a negative revenue per session. I'm losing money. I either need to adjust my strategy, or I need to make a decision to cut that off and take the dollars that I'm saving and put them into something like Facebook that might be driving better results. Just looking at these numbers here would not tell you that. And they wouldn't tell you how much you could pay per click. And they would not tell you if the price that you're paying is worth the value you're getting. Those are the questions that you need to be able to answer, but the default reporting on GA4 does not get you there. The next one, almost no one does this, and I still do not understand why. Negative event rate. So first, let's talk about a negative event, and I've put them here. So I've provided 2 examples here. This is an e-com example, this is a lead gen example, and I've simplified them just because this is a whiteboard and it's hard to read already. So for lead gen, right, we have a pretty standard setup. We have a funnel. We've got a form on the first page, we've got a book a meeting on the second page, and then we've got a confirmation on the third. This may be a simplified version of your lead form. You might have a 2-stage form. You might have multiple things in between. But generally speaking, there is a form, there is a secondary action you can take to indicate that you are really ready to go. Book an appointment, get your consultation now, schedule, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? There is something that most lead gen companies do that's basically like the hot to trot indicator. If you do this and this, you're probably ready to go. And then we have a confirmation. For e-com, I've really simplified this one, but we've got a PDP right here with an add to cart button. We've got a simplified 1-page checkout. Many shops will use a 2 or a 3-page checkout, but in the interests of me not having to draw all that, we used a 1-page checkout, and then you have an order confirmation page. Pretty simple setups. Now, where do negative events come in? So negative events are basically all the things that you don't want to happen. It's the opposite of a good thing. So let me give you some examples from these that you can track. So for our lead gen, we can track each time a form does not submit because of a failed validation. That could mean you asked for a business email and they gave you a Gmail. That could mean the phone number is not in the right position or the right format. That could mean that the organization isn't found, or the message in the write us a message is too short or too long, right? Lots of examples. Many organizations use validations on their forms. They just don't track if they're triggering. That's a huge problem because as a marketer, you know what the validation is. So as you're going through it to test out the form, you're not thinking like a user. You're thinking like you, and you know, subconsciously or not, hey, I got to make sure I put the parentheses around the area code. Oh, hey, I've got to make sure that I don't include the country code. Oh, hey, I've got to make sure that I use my work email, not my Gmail. But the users coming to your site, the users that are driving potentially this revenue, don't know any of that. So a user coming to your site, putting in all their information, thinking they're going to get to go to the next step, is met with some kind of validation issue. Well, that's friction. That's potentially costing you conversions. You can track each of those form validations as negative events. Anytime a form fails to submit and due to a validation, it fires a negative event. Negative underscore form validation. And then you can put a label on that event for what the issue was and pull the text right off of the little red text that you get. You can pull that. Easy. Right? Number two, you can actually go and look and make sure that the form submits and goes through, right? What we want to make sure is that that actually works. A lot of times you have dead link clicks, or the form looks like it submits but doesn't actually submit because of some issue with an iframe or an embed or bad data routing. Make sure that works. And if it doesn't, then fire another negative event. As we get in, you can look at your meetings booked, right? You can make sure that if somebody selects it, fire a negative event if there are no times available. That's a pretty big problem. Or if the availability of the sales team gets below, say, 20% of their calendar or 10% of their calendar. Because candidly, if you're a customer ready to go and there are no meetings available, well, you're probably going to another provider because you're going to assume that this one is too busy for you. Right? Then you get to the confirmation, and oftentimes brands will provide helpful links or resources or upcoming events or something that helps get the prospect excited. Right? This could be like a roofing guide. It could be materials. It could be information about the law firm. It could be, a problem guide or a case study for a SaaS company, right? It doesn't really matter. But if these links are broken, you should know about it. That's another negative event. Broken link, 404, right? We want to make sure that each of these stages, we're firing those negative events so you can understand what breaks. And then on the e-com side, right, same thing applies. You want to know, make sure the add to cart actually works. We've had e-com brands where add to cart on a variant page did not add the variant. Well, that's a pretty crappy experience if you're a user thinking you're going to buy black pants, and when you press add to cart on the black pants variant, it adds blue pants. That's going to cost you sales because more than likely, the person is going to get frustrated and leave. They wanted blue, you gave them black or whatever. That's a problem, right? So make sure the add to cart actually adds the correct product to the cart. It's a pretty easy comparison. Compare product added to cart to the PDP, make sure it aligns, right? We can then go into the checkout, validate all those form fields just as you did here, check the payment gateway. So you can also just treat it like a standard form validation, make sure that works. Pull in the shipping cost as a negative event. Because what you might find, and what we have found for certain stores, is that the shipping rates were misconfigured. So a user making a $20 purchase was seeing a $50 shipping bill. Well, what do you think they did? They didn't buy. And all of a sudden conversion rates go way down, but everything works. And it was just that the shipping rates for certain zip codes, for some reason in the API, were misconfigured. It was pulling in international shipping rates instead of domestic shipping rates. When we tried to replicate the issue from a location that was not impacted, you didn't see it. The shipping looked normal. It was $2, $3, whatever it was. But if you put in the wrong zip code, the shipping went up to $50. The only way you'd find that is by firing a negative event or an event around the shipping cost and then just filling in the value given by the cart. When you see that value, you can actually understand, hey, is the reason we're losing customers, is the reason people are getting to this page but not completing because the shipping cost was too high. The same thing is true for promo codes. You can actually pull, number one, was a promo code added? And number two, what was the promo code added? That is a super helpful data point, because if you are doing marketing, right, you are promoting a code, you are promoting a sale, and users are getting here, but the promo code is either not working or the promo code isn't as good as something that's being given by Honey, that's a big problem. You're probably losing sales. You're probably not getting the right amount of credit. Make sure that's done. And then when you get to the thank you page, you should have order info. But if it's missing, right, or the order info is not correct, fire another negative event there. Hey, it's not pulling through. Order info is missing, right? Just a sampling of negative events. And we'll link an article in the footer here about other ones that we've talked about and that I've written about. But the reason we track all of this is because this tells you what's broken and what you need to fix. It's a core question that most brands need from their web analytics that out of the box, Google Analytics 4 does not give you. It doesn't even get close. But with this setup, and you can do this in just a few hours, it does not take long, you can actually get reports on what is broken across your website, what negative events are firing and why, and make those changes. Then, we want to know conversion rate by the goal or by the event. Out of the box, Google Analytics 4 just gives you key event rate with all of your conversions. But you don't need that. You need to know, is there a material difference in conversion rate between a form submit and a checkout, between a self-serve and a sales-assisted booking? That's more important. You need to know funnel performance. That's what we're looking at here, right? What is the number of ads to cart? What's the add to cart to initiate checkout rate? What's the initiate checkout to purchase rate? That's a funnel, because that will tell you where the drop-offs are. That will tell you what is working and what is not. Same thing is true here. I can track form starts to form completes. I can track meetings started to meetings booked, and I can track meetings booked to meetings attended using my CRM data. That tells me what's going wrong or what's going right. But the only way I get that is if I actually build funnel reports. Again, not something that comes out of the box. And then finally, revenue per click, because really that is the golden nugget for website optimization if you can get it. Now again, lead forms are revenue in a convoluted way, right? They are revenue adjacent, we should call them. But it's good enough for government work, especially when you're currently flying blind. Getting 75 or 80 or 90% visibility is better than zero. So approximate, but revenue per click on every element of the page. Because when you have that revenue per click number, you start to understand which elements, which modules, which pages drive positive outcomes for your brand. And with that information, you can make better, smarter decisions about design, about marketing, about optimization. And candidly, until you can do that, you end up flying based on this, not this. And this does not get you anywhere. This will get you to where you want to go far faster. So my advice to you is start to actually move from this setup into this setup, right? Spend the time to create negative events, to track each of the positive events, and to build an analytics platform within GA4 or using your other third-party software. There are plenty of good ones there. We use heatmap.com. We've used Adobe Analytics. We've used several others. But use something that actually helps you get closer to this, because getting closer to this is what will result in more sales, faster growth, and smarter decisions. I'll talk to you next week.